Welcome back. My husband, 42, and I, 38, female, have been married for almost 16 years. In these years of dating and of marriage, I've only heard of my husband's biological father a few times. His name was the Voldemort of our home. My husband's father left when he was in his early teens for a younger woman, and as the eldest son in the family, he felt the need to man up and protect his family. They went through a lot of turmoil and were struggling financially. Each of them took small jobs such as mowing lawns, standing in queues on behalf of people, pet sitting, etc. That was until their mom met his stepdad. At first he was wary and guarded against him, but then the stepdad continued to be consistent and supportive until he won them over. His mom married the guy and their families merged and formed a whole again. My husband says that he was taught a lot by his stepdad and was treated like his own child. They all were. To him, his stepdad was his mentor and his real father. His mom had lived a happily married life with her second husband until she passed away from heart failure a few months after our wedding. The relationship that his stepdad and his mom had was what he aspired to. So you can imagine how upset he was when the father who abandoned them popped up out of nowhere asking for forgiveness. Initially, my husband would kick him out and refuse to talk to him, or completely ignore his existence even though he was constantly there begging to talk to him. He would then start approaching me, begging me to ask my husband to talk to him. He looked so pitiful and apologetic, so I suggested that we meet up for coffee so that I could convey what he wanted to say. When we met up, there was something about him that I couldn't put my finger on. I could tell where my husband got his looks from and that he would age well. His dad had that silver fox thing going on. He was also well-spoken and explained that he understood my husband's hate for him, but he wanted to make things right between them. I felt sorry for him, so I tried to convince my husband to hear him out, which caused a strain in our relationship, and I would confide in his estranged father. I gradually started building a relationship with him, and my husband eventually came around after he spoke to his stepdad. He advised him to give his father a chance for closure so that he doesn't have any regrets in the future. After talking, my husband agreed to give his biological father a chance, and his father became a constant presence in our lives. He was an easygoing person and easy to talk to. The more I confided in him, the more attractive I found him. The first time we did the deed was a drunken mistake, and we both agreed to keep it a secret and that we would pretend that it never happened. He didn't want to ruin the new relationship he was starting to rebuild with the family he abandoned, and I didn't want to ruin my marriage. We thought that would be the end of things, but we kept being drawn to each other and inevitably started having an affair. We kept this up for a while until I got pregnant. I was worried that the baby might not be my husband's and didn't want to risk being seen by anyone with my father-in-law. I never did a paternity test because it would make things all too real. I would get so paranoid every time my husband mentioned our son's brunette hair. We've kept this secret for almost 9 years. My father-in-law has even met a nice woman that he plans to marry. A few weeks ago, doctors discussed giving our son a bone marrow transplant as a last resort to treat his lymphoma. My husband and I immediately volunteered, and they ran tests on us. We were both not a match. I was heartbroken and desperate. I didn't know what to do. I even thought of my husband's dad being a match and asked him to get tested. I called my father-in-law to the hospital to talk to him about how he should get tested to see if he could be a match for bone marrow. He was willing, but he was worried that the tests might show that my son might possibly be his, which might expose their past affair. I explained to him that that was not how it worked. The paternity testing and DNA testing are different, and HLA testing cannot prove paternity. He was very scared of ruining the life that he had now built for himself and regretted the affair. I was about to reassure him that our secret was safe when suddenly my husband showed up out of nowhere and punched him in the face. He continued to beat him mercilessly. I tried my best to pull him off, but he pushed me away, and I hurt my side against the wall. Hospital security came, and my husband ended up getting arrested for assault. His father didn't press charges, and he ignored my entire presence when I went to bail him out of jail. He asked me to pack all my things and leave the house. How do I explain to him that it was all in the past and that our son could still be his since I never did a paternity test? He doesn't want to talk to me. If he just gave me a chance, we could fix this. How do I get him to talk to me or just look at me? Edit. For more context, my father-in-law showed up in our lives 6 years into our marriage, and we don't have other children because I had issues conceiving. To answer your question about him commenting about our son's hair, my husband and I are both blonde, but our son has dark brownish blondish hair like my husband's biological father. I was not aware that my husband was listening in on us because he was supposed to be at work. To answer another question, my son was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a very rare type of cancer most commonly found in boys 2 years ago, and has been going through various trials and treatments, including chemo at a young age. Initially, he seemed to be improving, but his health has been regressing for the past few months. That's why the doctors eventually suggested a bone marrow transplant. Update. I just found out that my husband has done a paternity test on our son behind my back. That's so immature. I don't think it's necessary to do the test and find out the paternity since he has raised our son himself for almost 9 years. Such selfish and childish behavior will confuse our baby boy. And what does it matter? It was all in the past. The family has cut off their family completely, and I think his girlfriend has left him. Update. It's been a year since my last update, and our relationship looks like it's beyond repair. After the paternity test came out, he filed for a divorce. Like I said before, he was being childish and selfish. He's not considering how this may impact our son. He's the only father he's ever known. If he wanted to be petty, I could be petty too. That's why I fought for alimony. Since he built his business while we were married, I was entitled to it. My son's biological father has been consistent and helping with my son, unlike his selfish son. We were once married. He should be the one taking care of our son. Regardless of the test, he was the one who raised him. That should count for something. He should be here. That's why I went for child support, but even with the child support, he refuses to come meet our son. I've been trying to get him to meet our baby boy and have a relationship with him like they did before. Even his father's trying to reach out on our baby's behalf, but his heart has frozen over. Story 2. Guys, I need your help. I'm completely desperate in this situation and I have absolutely no one to talk to. I, 25 female, don't want to cheat on my 25 male husband, but there's so much pressure and I'm cracking. I've been married for 5 years and I'm happy. I really am. This other guy, late 40s, has been trying to seduce me for the past 3 years. He's really attractive, and I won't physically I'm very into him. I've spoken to my husband about it, and he suggested that I distance myself from him. I agreed, and I told the other dude about it. He also agreed. However, he comes back every once in a while. I've changed emails and I've changed phone numbers. We always bump into each other, and when we do, we always go back to where we were chatting-wise. It's never awkward between us. This morning, he gave me a call and asked if I wanted to talk to him again, and that he knows I'm attracted to him as he's attracted to me. He's totally right. The thing is that, unlike the other times, I told him yes. I told him he could email me. I instantly called my husband and told him what I had done. I started tearing up, and of course my husband was upset but relieved I told him. Honestly, what is my problem? I don't want to cheat on my husband. I really don't. But older guy and me seem to have this sexual connection instantly going on. What's wrong? How can I manage to just not want him, respond to him? Said that way, it sounds fairly easy, just don't talk to him. But as mentioned, we just bump into each other, small town. And as much as I'd like not to be in contact at all with him, it's nearly impossible. Thank you. I understand that you might run into him, but simply seeing him doesn't mean you have to rekindle a connection. It's as simple as politely saying, "I'm sorry, but I'm married and I can't maintain contact. Please don't call or email me." And then blocking and deleting him. If you happen to bump into him again, there's no need to be impolite, but it doesn't mean you have to share personal information. You mentioned not wanting to cheat, so the choice is yours. No one's forcing you to share your details or continue this relationship. It's a decision you're making. In fact, you're teetering on the edge of emotional cheating, especially since your husband has asked you to break contact. Yet you've allowed him to remain in your life. Unless you stop, you risk harming your marriage, and for what reason? Comments. Pressure? Really? Someone's holding a gun to your head and making you talk to the guy? Do you think you're the only married person who has a friend they're attracted to? There's a standard way of dealing with this situation. Just ignore it. If this guy was flirting with a married woman who wasn't you, you'd probably think he was a scumbag. But because it's you, you're blinded. Dude is an asshole homewrecker, just stay away. Do you have any self-control? This wouldn't be hard for a person who had self-control. You would continue not speaking to him. You would not tell him, yes, you can email me. You would tell him to fuck off and leave you alone. You would not be friendly with him. You would terminate that relationship instead of making bullshit excuses. Here's how you deal with the situation. You fucking act like an adult and you make the decision to cut him out from your life. You make the choice to not act on these urges. You make the choice not to cheat. You make the choice to be a faithful wife. You're in full control. Nobody's making you do anything, so fucking own it and do the right thing.